Oh my god, I'm kind of getting the feels right now. This is too real. It's too real. Oh, it's too real. Stop it. I think it's good. I'm really enjoying it. I like it. All right, moving on.
Welcome to Bread of the Wild.
Brett. Ted, fix it. Make it say Brett of the Wild. Welcome, gamers, to Super Beard Bowl Season 2. Each month, we're doing an all-new 8-episode series complete with a beginning and an end, as voted on by you, our loyal viewers. Without paying a single penny, everyone who watches will be able to vote on one of 4 show ideas, and once you narrow it down from 4 to 2, the Beard Bowl Patreon tier will then choose between the top 2 for which show gets made into a full 8-episode series. This month, the winning series is Beard Bros Movie Reviews. Brett, Jirard, and Alex watch and review movies that you guys thought they might enjoy. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. The next public vote begins Monday, August 17th. So until then, just sit back, relax, and enjoy another incredible episode of Super Beard Bowl.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Beard Bros movie reviews, Beard Bowl style. I'm Jirard. Welcome. We didn't have a good intro with me and Brett.
Was that better? Was that better than the one you guys did?
This just feels like we're welcoming people to the show properly. Brett and I did like a jump start together that just didn't work.
That's okay. Well, we're here now. We're in the Beard Bros movie review zone. What happened to you? Did you just see a spider?
I just dropped a bottle.
Oh. Is it like all over the floor?
Water.
No, do you need to take care of it?
No, I'm fine. It's good.
Are you sure? You're just
welcome.
You're just gonna.
We're gonna talk about Gladiator,
the extended edition from 2005, by the way, because it's a lot longer. Actually, it's like 20 minutes longer. I think
it is. Alex.
Yeah.
What? Before we dive into the plot, before we get into the nitty gritty. You and I have watched this film together once many years ago.
Well, yeah. This movie, just even beyond us, this movie is like a movie that I feel like everyone has seen this movie.
This is an Academy Award winning cast and director and writer and producer.
It's like a 10 out of 10 classic, Oscar Award winning amazing movie, right? We can all
Russell Crowe just sweeps this movie into it, takes the Oscar and just pops right into his bag.
Everybody in this movie is good.
It's true. Everyone. Oh, Joaquin Phoenix is incredible in this movie.
He's crazy. He's so scary.
Oh, he's so terrifying. If you're why would Joaquin Phoenix play Joker? Just go watch Gladiator, and
that's actually his whole career is him playing scary people. But
people not well.
Going back through the movie,
including himself.
Yeah, that's true. Going back through the movie though, I was going back through looking to be I haven't seen the movie since last time we watched it, which was however long ago that was, 4 years ago or something like that. And even that time that we watched it, it wasn't a sick Blu-ray like I watched it today, or yesterday. It was a Netflix stream or a DVD playing on HD TV. It looked bad.
Yeah.
And going back through this time, I was I want to have something to talk about. And I went through and I was looking for the cracks. I was looking for the things this time around that I'm well, okay, it's reviewing the Beatles. What are you supposed to say? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went through and I was just looking closer at the whole movie and just thinking to myself, is this movie where does it show its age? What is going on? And honestly, this movie, I think other than the soundtrack, which we can circle back and talk about in a little bit, I feel like this movie is 100% timeless. It's Jurassic Park level where it just looks the same.
It's a period piece produced in the late 90s, early 2000s, or rather...
It came out in 2000.
It came out in 2000, so early 2000s. Alex and I were 12 years old when this movie came out.
It was huge.
It was huge. It was a huge conversation.
Do you have the same feeling as me that when DVD players came out, this was like the movie?
Oh yeah, when Blu-ray came out, this thing was bundled in so many best ofs and so many free promotions.
Yeah.
When I worked at Best Buy, I probably sold more copies of Gladiator than it was Gladiator, Michael Jackson documentaries, and the Beatles performing live. Those were the 3 Blu-rays that I always sold out when I was working at Best Buy.
Super weird.
Yeah.
3 choices, guys, in toys.
Yes. I will say, in my lifetime, this was the first time I had ever seen Russell Crowe act.
Oh man, yeah.
And I'm sad to say that because I feel like Gladiator is the peak of his performance.
You think this is his best movie?
This is his best film he's ever done.
I think he said this is his best movie too.
And he's had a lot of ups and downs throughout it, like out of his career, rather. Just doing this movie and that movie, and I'd say like my 3 favorite Russell Crowe films are Gladiator, L.A. Confidential, and then his most recent one with Ryan Gosling.
Oh my God, The Nice Guys. That's a fucking
Nice
great.
Guys.
That's a movie. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. That's a recommendation. You guys, if you like Lethal Weapon, you'll love those movies. So good.
Yeah.
I like Russell Crowe most of the time. I think the dude is like super intense. I think he's super like instantly likable, especially for that like weird like male bro camaraderie energy that he has sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a very like manly guy. Seems kind of like that's why he was so perfect for this, because he has this like old school human vibe to him. Like I believe that he's from the Roman times. But I mean, other than Les Mis, which I did not think was his best work. Me and Davis went and saw that in the theaters, and I think we laughed more than we should have. I'm not talking shit on the movie necessarily. I just thought he was like super weird in that movie. Weird choice.
He was weird in that movie.
But this movie, literally, like the cameras, like the shots are beautiful. Like the first shot in Germania, the like big battle that like took half the filming time or whatever to film. That shit was amazing. Did you know they really burned down a forest for that, by the way?
No shit.
It was like some forest in England somewhere, and they were like, hey, we're about to like burn this forest down. And they were like, hold on a second. What if we did it with like Roman catapults? But like that scene is like amazing. Like the art direction, like I don't see the CG. Like I even watched there were a few things that I noticed that were like things that I don't care about, like the knife at the end when he stabs Commodus in the neck with the knife, like the knife is like bending because it's like a rubber knife, like all kinds of things like that in the movie. But literally this movie could have come out last year except for the soundtrack, which I think is like weird. Like I was so surprised how different movie soundtracks are now versus like 2020, like the year 2000. Like if you think about it in terms of like the Brady Bunch versus like Lost, like and how Brady Bunch has like a song and it's like catchy, and there's like this whole pageantry about the opening of the TV show, and Lost is just the word lost and it goes. I'm not saying that movies don't have great soundtracks now, but the Gladiator soundtrack, like I haven't watched it. I listen to it all the time because you can't help it. Like if you're at Universal Studios, you hear it. You listen to it and you're like, is this the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack?
Oh, absolutely. If you listen to the Gladiator soundtrack, you realize that this is a precursor to Pirates of the Caribbean because Hans Zimmer did both of those soundtracks.
That's true. But listening to it and like watching the movie at the same time is something I haven't done in a really long time. And it is so loud. It is so like crazy the whole time. Like people are like fighting in a war, and now like in now times that would be so gritty and scary. And in this, it's like, and there's like dudes on horses like cutting each other's heads off, like It's like some movie from like the 30s. Like it's so crazy. And I'm not saying it's bad music. Like it's the one thing that really dates this movie as being like a little bit older. And Hans Zimmer also shout outs because there's like some music in this where it's like beow, beow, because he loves his synths. And I never noticed how synthy some of the songs are in this movie.
I will say, I would love to one day, I don't know Corey Balrog specifically personally, but I would love to sit down with him because he, obviously director of the most recent God of War, directed some of the past God of Wars.
Who did you say, Corey Balrog?
Corey Balrog.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to know how much of Kratos' human side was inspired by Gladiator. Because when I played God of War for the first time, the first one about 7 years ago, I immediately drew comparisons between Kratos and Maximus, and mostly because of the slaughtering of the families, right? Obviously, Kratos is the one that does the slaughtering of his own family via the blind greed that it's imbued upon him.
It's the same thing. With, it wasn't his fault.
Like he tried, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I describe Gladiator in like layman's terms of a video game, the main character gets invincibility right after the inciting incident. Like Maximus is on a train of destruction that he's not aware of, and he goes from being like the most revered and loved warrior that is basically going to be given this entire empire to rule over the son of the heir, to being called the Spaniard because no one knew what race he was or where he was from, and he fought very elegantly, and so he just climbs the ranks of this crazy battle arena to eventually reveal himself that he is Maximus. And there's just so many great moments where we, the audience, are agreeing with the audience who are watching the battles. Those moments when they're like, Maximus, Maximus, Maximus. And you've got Hans Zimmer swelling his music and everyone's doing their thing. You're really hoping that he'll make it out, that he really will survive the arena that he has to kind of go through, and his teammates for that matter, because his teammates ended up being assholes to him that he like immediately grew quick with.
Yeah, I think one of the strengths of this movie is how universally appealing the story is. Like it's in a time period that everybody knows, like everybody on Earth knows about the Roman Empire, right? And it at the beginning of the movie, it says some fact like 1/4 of the people on the earth at this time were Romans, which is like crazy to think about. But like, I love how straightforward this is. And a lot of Ridley Scott's movies aren't this straightforward. You know what I mean? Like a lot of his movies are much more in the like sort of artistic metatextual area where he's trying to like say a lot more with the structure and the visual imagery. And I think he still like philosophically is at that point with this movie. I feel like he's still trying to say something high concept here, but I think the thing that he's trying to say, and the reason that he said it in like an ancient time, is that like, this is a very universal, straightforward story that's like almost like fundamental to like the building blocks of man. You know what I mean? Like you say he's like Kratos, and I do kind of agree, but I think like the thing that's interesting about Maximus, and I think Kratos eventually gets there on PS4, is the sadness, because Kratos in the first couple games is not super like,
it's rage. Yeah. It's like I must avenge my family.
It's a lot more it's like a lot more like Machete. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more Kratos, he's gonna kill you. But in this movie, like he is invincible, but it's because he's the best, and he knows that actually he's going to die at the end. And so things that hit different for me because of that. The scene with Lucilla, where she comes to visit him after he's like, "My name is Maximus Malquez, and what is murder? Husband of a murdered wife." Yeah, that scene, like right after that, I will have my revenge. Yeah, right. I will have my revenge. I will have my revenge. The scene right after that where he's like chained up and she goes to talk to him it's like the scene where he like is like really going in on her and talking about like, you don't know what it's like. And she's like, does my son have to be fucking dead for me to be scared for him? Like that scene is super good because it shows you like, oh yeah, like this whole thing is about realizing that like, you know, society, it's like, it's a political idea that like this guy who's like in charge, I don't know, it resonated with me very much with today of like all these people seeing this thing happen in slow motion and realizing that it's going to lead to the destruction of Rome, basically. Like, I don't know. Do you know about Commodus? Do you know about the real Commodus?
No.
Not the same story as this. I think the reason Commodus is in this movie is because he grew to be hated by Romans and he was killed. So he's famous for getting in the ring and fighting animals and like doing all this fucked up shit. Like I remember some story like he like used to like beat people to death who didn't have their limbs. Like he'd like tie them together and beat them up. So he's kind of a dickhead, right? I mean, this is like actually not that weird for Romans. Like that's not like super crazy brutal for Romans, but like,
because they're Romans.
Yeah. But like he was like a hero when Marcus Aurelius died, the previous emperor. He just died of like some sickness, and Commodus took over, and he was like beloved because he was a badass, and he would like get up and go into the fucking gladiatory arena and like beat up like tigers and lions and shit. But eventually he got so obsessed with the games that it like bankrupted Rome and like destroyed Rome. And so that's like what actually happened, right? But by adding Maximus into the story and making it like this personal story, right? It's cool because it makes us into the Romans, like you were saying. Like, you know, we're all standing in the stands being like, Maximus, Maximus, Maximus. Because there's a guy that it's all happening to, it automatically makes us empathize with the things that, like, I don't know, it's like thematically a true story about Commodus, but factually it's not a true story about Commodus. And I think it's nice as a movie because they do this thing where they just put this guy right in the middle and you know, okay, this guy needs to get revenge. He's going to get fucked over. That's why he's a hero. It's really cool.
The thing that I think makes us care so much more about Maximus is how shitty of a person Commodus is. If Commodus was played by anyone else who just didn't have the acting foray that Joaquin Phoenix has, this movie would just seem like the bully is standing up to, or the guy who's being bullied is standing up to his aggressor. In this instance, you know from the get-go that Commodus, while he's not the most battle ready compared to Maximus, you can sense that their ability to go toe-to-toe with each other is very much in line with their philosophies of how the world should run. Commodus is like, there should be one ruler. It should be me. I am evil. I get to take everything.
I am evil. Yeah.
And Maximus, on the other hand, Maximus is like, it's for the people, by the people. We should give it back, give Rome back to the people. That's what I want.
Well, honestly, that's the interesting thing about Maximus is that he doesn't really care about that. Like he
ends up wanting it because
of Marcus Aurelius telling him that's exactly
Marcus
what he
Aurelius
wanted.
was like, Marcus Aurelius was like, this is your kingdom. And he's like, I don't want a fucking kingdom. I want my farm. I want my wife. I want my kid. I have murdered everyone on your behalf. Let me go live my life. And he's like, that's fine. And then he tragically dies. And the will, because of what Marcus says, he's like, don't let my son rule. Do not let my son rule. And Commodus hears all of this and is immediately like, oh, I'm ruling, baby. I'm ruling. And so within moments, he kills his top generals, kills him, like thinks he kills him. And when he reappears back in Rome in the games, there's this certain air of like, we knew Commodus was bad, but he's like evolved into a new form of evil with his ability to be wanted, to be loved by the audience. You know, the fact that he has a very incestuous relationship with his sister, kind of goes to show that like this is a guy who needs what he wants all the time, and if he doesn't get it, he will murder everyone.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about Commodus is like he could be a bully, and he is a bully, but like you can see that he is like as much a product of the system as anyone, and that he's really a good indicator of the situation where somebody in power just believes they are entitled to that power and that they don't need to do the things that are expected of them when they have that power.
The minute that Commodus orders the guards to pre-stab Maximus before their fight just goes to show that he's like, he wants to be like, I want to win this fight for the people of Rome by making my opponent already bleeding from within under his armor to make the fight easier.
He hugs him, kisses him, and stabs him. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Another character that I really enjoyed this time around more than I usually do is Proximo, who is the Oliver Reed character, the like other gladiator who's like the leader of the gladiators, you know? The older guy.
Yeah.
He does
Proximo is the guy who owns the games.
Yeah, the guy who like buys Maximus.
He owns he was a slave that like essentially became the owner of the games and like owned his own slave tribe and then like he literally essentially bought Maximus and like let him.
He was freed. He was freed by the emperor too, by Commodus's father, right?
Yeah.
So he's the one who teaches Maximus like, hey, like you need to like, you don't understand how much power you have, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing. But I just loved his performance. Like he's a famous British actor from like a long time ago. And I guess I didn't know this until recently, but I was reading an interview about this movie and Russell Crowe was like, I fucking hated that guy. And they like, he was like, well, but here's the thing. This guy died during the filming of this movie. So,
no fucking way.
Yeah. So Corridor Crew clued me into this because I was watching their like special effects show about breaking down special effects. Turns out Oliver Reed was like an alcoholic his whole life, and he came to the set of Gladiator with the intention of like becoming like a character actor again in his old age, like having like sort of like a late career comeback,
a renaissance. Yeah.
And he was clean and clear. And then when he was in London, he got into a situation. He would challenge people to fights all the time because he was like a piece of shit kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he was at this bar and these sailors were there and they challenged him to a drinking contest and he like drank them under the table and then started arm wrestling everybody in the bar and just died. His tab that night was $600.
Wow.
Totally crazy. But that guy, legend. Like, that guy, amazing performance. The scene where he's talking to Maximus about what it was like to go out into the Colosseum, so fucking good. He's super good.
It's like it happened yesterday for him.
Yeah. And I just realized, watching the movie this time, that Connie Nielsen, who plays Lucilla, is the chick from Wonder Woman who plays the mother. I didn't even like realize that.
Yeah.
She's Wonder Woman's mom, which is like a perfect thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to do a review. It's hard to review Gladiator because it's a super.
I feel like in 20 minutes let alone in the 22 minutes we've been at so far in recording this file, we didn't even scratch the surface. And this happened the same with Shark Boy and Lava Girl, where we got closer with that with me and Brett. This we didn't even get halfway through. I feel there's so many great moments.
Yeah, it's super good. It's super worth watching. If you want my opinion on this movie, it's one of the best like big budget like mass appeal. I could have
sworn we did a masterpiece for it, Alex. We did?
Yeah.
We had to have.
We did.
Yeah.
We did years ago.
If you want. Yeah, it
is a missing video, but it's somewhere.
I remember you and I filming it together.
We definitely did. I remember doing it. Or we just like watched Gladiator.
We did it, dude.
But I'm pretty sure we recorded it. I feel like that's not a movie that you just break out with your friends that often.
Hell no. It's not like, let's watch. Well, it's like Gangs of New York. It's a 4-hour film. Like, you don't just like sit down and put in Gangs of New York.
Yeah, hey,
like you plan.
Work's over. Let's crush Gladiator. This. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, right. So, Alex, I did this with Brett, and I think it's a good thematic ending to these videos. On a scale of 1 to 5, where on a star scale out of 5 stars, Gladiator, where's it at with you?
5 stars.
5 stars.
This is not a controversial opinion. I feel like this movie is so fucking good. If you don't like it, fine. But I think this movie has a good script. It's beautifully directed. In 2020, the only thing I think is weird about it is the soundtrack is like extremely bombastic all the time. But other than that, this movie is amazing. And it's like I still think it's the definitive thing that people think of when they think of Rome. Like when you imagine ancient Rome, you imagine the movie Gladiator.
Absolutely. I give this also 5 stars. It's actually in my top 10 favorite movies. It's a really great film, great performances, great directing, great writing, not complicated to follow along. You see the arcs that everyone has across the board. You see these characters, you want them to live, you want them to thrive. Commodus with Joaquin Phoenix is such a great antagonist that you don't know how to feel about him throughout the movie because he just keeps changing his goals and wants and needs, and it's very Jokerish in that way. And I will give you guys some homework though, some homework for you guys at home, just as like side Easter egg homework.
Yeah.
First, you need to go watch Garfieldiator.
Okay.
Which is my friend El Cid, the one of the best animators on YouTube. He did a great Gladiator parody, but it's called Garfieldiator, and it's like
Garfield
literally
Eater?
like Gladiator, but Garfield.
Okay, Garfieldiator.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I could be getting the name wrong, but go watch it. It is incredible. It takes the best moments from Gladiator and fuses it with Garfield, and it's so great. Another thing is, and we didn't talk about this because it has nothing to do with Gladiator, but it kind of does. There is a game on the PS2, Xbox, original Xbox, and GameCube called Gladius.
Yes.
Now, Gladius is it's a tactic game, kind of born in the times of Rome, not necessarily in this specific era, but definitely with like legionnaires and things like that. And the reason why I bring it up is because the font for Gladius is almost the exact same as Gladiator.
I think that's the actual font they like used in Rome.
Yeah, it must be. And you can tell based on the box art, based on how they design the game, it's an original game for sure, but it felt like they really wanted to try and get those Gladiator fans out there to play this game. I, in high school, played it and loved it. It's not a great game by any means, but it's a fun time. It's fun to play and fun to like be in the moment.
Yeah, not a classic, but a good, fun game. A good time.
Absolutely.
Here's the Gladiator, the movie that proves without a doubt that you don't need to make a big, brainy, high-concept movie to be one of the best movies of all time.
Hell yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.
You won't know Waggity Sex no more. Waggity Sex.
Kill that man. No. Why not?
You
I can just take an elevator.
No more. Waggity Sex.
It used to be Wackety Sax.
Waggity Sex. Waggity Sex. Waggity Sex.